Young and Restless. Tristan Rogers' heartbreaking final scenes as Colin's tragic death hits Genoa City. Young and the Restless fans, we are in for a bittersweet surprise this week as Tristan Rogers makes his last ever soap opera appearance in a few scenes as Colin Atkinson, Tristan Rogers, father of Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, on the CBS soap. We're going to talk about Tristan Rogers' recent death, and how stunned soap fans are to see the beloved actor one last time when they thought they had already seen his last time on a soap opera. Tristan Rogers' iconic role as Colin Atkinson on Young and the Restless. If you only watch Young and the Restless and not General Hospital over on ABC, you may only know Tristan Rogers as Australian con man Colin Atkinson, one of the many loves of Jill Abbott's Jess Walton life. Colin was a criminal, but also quite a charming con artist who stole $2 billion from Devon Hamilton, Bryton James. But he also stole Jill's heart. Robert Scorpio. Tristan Rogers' enduring legacy on GH. If you also watch General Hospital, especially back in the big heyday, the Luke Spencer, Anthony Geary and Laura Spencer, Jeannie Francis era, then you would know that Tristan Rogers played legendary WSB spy Robert Scorpio, Tristan Rogers. He's been a major player since the 80s over on the ABC soap. Tristan Rogers was definitely a GH icon, to be sure. He was my very first soap crush. I was just a kid when my big sister was watching in the Luke and Laura days, and I heard that accent and I saw Robert Scorpio, and I fell in love. A bittersweet farewell. Tristan Rogers' last GH scenes and cancer fight. Back in July, a few weeks before Tristan passed away, ABC soap fans saw what they thought were his final soap opera scenes ever. But now we've got this welcome surprise on YandR this week. Back on July 18th, Tristan Rogers wrapped his run on General Hospital forever. Although fans didn't know it at the time, they had no idea that he was sick. He didn't look well. Over the past year, when we'd seen him a few times, he looked increasingly thinner, frilier, and all of a sudden looked older. And it was super sad. We didn't know at the time that he was terminally ill. He returned as Robert for just 2 episodes to facilitate actress Sophia Mattsson's exit as Robert's daughter, Sasha Gilmore. General Hospital's big rewrite for Robert. She had only been revealed as Robert's daughter just a few months prior, which was actually a big rewrite of his character's history. He left town with his love Holly Sutton, Emma Sams, after the reveal. That seems to have been for actor Tristan Rogers to pursue treatment for his lung cancer. When we saw Tristan back in mid-July, we had been pre-warned by a leak that he was only back for 2 episodes and then would be gone again indefinitely. It was a happy ending for his General Hospital character because Robert was reunited with his daughter, Sasha, and he got to meet his granddaughter, Daisy, and they moved in with him. That was very sweet. Remembering Tristan Rogers, a legacy across General Hospital and YandR. Unfortunately, there is not a happy ending for Tristan Rogers' character, Colin Atkinson. 3 weeks after we saw Tristan looking very frail on General Hospital, he lost his battle with cancer and passed away on August 15th. Tristan's legacy as Robert on General Hospital spanned 45 years. It was amazing, unforgettable, and iconic, all the good things you can say about it. His role on Young and the Restless as Colin Atkinson was much newer, and even though it didn't last nearly as long, it was spectacular. Colin Atkinson's return, Tristan Rogers' last YandR scenes. When it came out this week that Tristan was going to reprise his role of Colin one last time for a final flashback scene, it was amazing. This week we see Colin with his son, Kane, who just returned after 6 years away. This is the first, last, and only time to see Tristan Rogers working with Kane's recast actor, Billy Flynn. Tristan Rogers originated the role of Colin Atkinson back in 2010. Colin was fresh out of prison for his deeds to do with organized crime in Australia. He then came to Genoa City looking for his son, Kane, who was played back then by Daniel Goddard, who interestingly is now over on General Hospital. Colin wanted Kane to come back to Australia to accept his role as the heir to Colin's criminal enterprise, but Kane refused. Colin stuck around and won Jill's heart, but he also broke it. Tristan Rogers' poignant deathbed scenes as Colin Atkinson. It was, I think, 2019, maybe 2020, perhaps the plot overran, but I know it began in 2019 when Colin ran a con with Amanda Sinclair, Miss Hale Morgan, to steal Devon's inheritance. We were told in recent reveals that Colin died in 2024. This week, what we're getting is one last episode of Tristan Rogers as Colin in flashback scenes to the 2024 death of his character, Colin. These are deathbed scenes. That must have been such a challenge for Tristan since he was in his own final days when he filmed Colin's death scenes. That is remarkable professionalism. It was much different seeing Tristan on Young and the Restless when he was doing Colin's deathbed scenes than his final scenes on General Hospital, which were happy by comparison. Both were the end of an era, a final goodbye to the legendary Tristan Rogers. Emotional farewell, Colin's last wishes for Kane on YandR. Our last scenes of Colin Atkinson, his last scenes ever, are Kane flashing back and recalling his father Colin's final days. Kane was at Colin's bedside where his dad was frail and fragile, and Kane was caretaking him. He was reading the news to Colin talking about how his dad needed to stick around to see more zeros in their bank accounts. Colin told Kane he didn't want to hear about business because they were out of time. He talked to Kane about leaning on his family and telling him not to leave it for too long, not to stay away for too long. He talked to him about the Aristotle Dumas persona and said, "It's only a name. It's not a person." Colin was telling Kane not to lose who he is, which is Kane Ashby. Colin was smiling as Kane said he wouldn't let it get that far. He said, "Famous last words," which again is very bittersweet because we are dealing with famous last words from the last time he was on the soap. Colin told Kane, "Don't tell Jill how much I love her, because it'll make it harder when I'm gone." Colin was asking how long Kane was going to wait to talk to Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil, and tell her everything that happened. Kane promised his dad he'd do it when the time was right. Then Colin was asking him to promise to get rid of the Dumas thing after that. That's going to have a big impact on Kane this week on Young and the Restless. A lasting legacy, Tristan Rogers' farewell gift to fans. It's shocking that Tristan's very last on-screen appearance was as Colin Atkinson, a role he hadn't played in several years, rather than as the legendary Robert Scorpio, who Tristan had played recently and regularly on and off over the years. But it was a very welcome surprise, a treat to fans of both General Hospital and Young and the Restless and fans of Tristan Rogers to get this surprising last scene. It was great for Billy Flynn, who is still getting into the character of Kane Ashby, to have that little slice of history. It's great that Billy got to work with Tristan, and it's great for Kane's storyline. Tristan Rogers is beloved and missed, and the fans are so grateful for this final tension long before the news broke. The corridors of Newman Enterprises were quieter than usual, and whispers of an impending shakeup drifted through the air like a storm warning. For decades, Colin Atkinson had been a force to reckon with, a man of power, charm, and darkness, whose shadow stretched over nearly every corner of the city. But this week, fans are witnessing something no one thought they'd see. The heartbreaking final chapter of Tristan Rogers' legendary run as Colin Atkinson, a farewell that would leave Genoa City and viewers reeling. It began in typical Colin fashion, smooth, calculating, and impossibly confident. He had returned from what he called a brief sabbatical, arriving in town with that trademark Colin grin that could both disarm and intimidate. His timing was impeccable, or so it seemed. While the city buzzed with corporate rivalries and personal betrayals, Colin was about to step into a confrontation that would ultimately seal his fate. The catalyst for this tragic finale was his ongoing feud with Jack Abbott. Their rivalry, stretching back decades, had been punctuated by business takeovers, betrayals, and a few morally ambiguous alliances. Colin had always stayed one step ahead, his cunning strategies allowing him to manipulate situations with surgical precision. But this time, Jack wasn't the only threat. Colin's past, which he had skillfully hidden for years, began clawing its way into the present, exposing vulnerabilities even the master manipulator could not control. The episode opens with Colin in his sleek, modern office at Atkinson Holdings, overlooking the skyline of Genoa City. Tristan Rogers brings a quiet intensity to his performance, one that makes viewers instantly sense the fragility beneath Colin's polished exterior. He stares at a framed photo on his desk, a younger version of himself with a long-lost love, a family he could never fully claim, and choices that had haunted him for decades. The camera lingers on Colin's face, capturing the subtle flicker of regret in his eyes. It's a masterclass in emotion, a reminder that beneath the ruthless businessman was a man who had loved, lost, and longed for redemption. Meanwhile, across the city, a different kind of storm is brewing. Victor Newman, who has long viewed Colin as both an adversary and a dangerous chess piece, senses an opportunity. The tension between them has been simmering for years, but Colin's latest decisions have left him exposed. Victor's plan, meticulously crafted, ensures that Colin's past misdeeds could finally catch up with him. In a scene dripping with suspense, Victor and his allies corner Colin, offering him an ultimatum that tests the very essence of his survival instincts. But it's not just the old rivalries that define Colin's final act. It's the people who still love him, the ones he has spent a lifetime protecting in his own enigmatic way. Mackenzie, his daughter, has always lived in the shadow of her father's dangerous world. She had hoped this return to Genoa City would finally bring some semblance of peace, but Colin's relentless past proves impossible to outrun. In an emotionally charged scene, Tristan Rogers and Kelly Kruger, Mackenzie, share a moment that breaks the heart. A father and daughter, reunited in love yet divided by the secrets that define their family. Colin's confession, that he's not just fighting for survival but for redemption, is delivered with such raw honesty that viewers can't help but feel the weight of his years of deception. The tension escalates when Colin's enemies, both old and new, begin to close in. In a shocking twist, a violent confrontation erupts in the middle of a Genoa City street, and Colin, ever the protector, takes the brunt of an attack meant for someone else. Tristan Rogers' portrayal in these scenes is nothing short of mesmerizing. Every line, every grimace, every quiet breath carries the weight of a life lived in shades of gray. The once unshakable Colin is suddenly vulnerable, and the city witnesses a side of him few have ever seen. A man facing the end, yet unwilling to compromise his integrity even in the face of death. The pivotal scene occurs at a secluded dock at night. Colin, bloodied and battered, staggers across the pier as city lights flicker behind him. The sound of water lapping against the shore mixes with distant sirens, creating an atmosphere of tension and inevitability. Tristan Rogers' performance here is cinematic in scope, a slow, deliberate walk, eyes searching the horizon, heart heavy with reflection. Flashbacks punctuate the scene, moments of love, regret, triumph, and betrayal, reminding both Colin and the audience of the complexity of a life lived fully, but often dangerously. Jack Abbott, having trailed Colin to the docks, confronts him one last time. The confrontation is tense yet intimate, a dialogue between two men who have shaped each other's lives for decades. Colin's wit is sharp, but there's a subtle softness now, a fleeting vulnerability. He acknowledges mistakes, takes responsibility, and in an unexpected twist, offers Jack an olive branch of understanding. "We've been enemies for too long," he murmurs, his voice breaking just slightly. "Maybe it's time the city sees the man, not just the monster." Jack, usually stoic, struggles with conflicting emotions, anger, respect, sorrow, but ultimately leaves Colin to face his fate, silently acknowledging the courage it takes to meet the end on one's own terms. The culmination of Colin's journey is both tragic and heroic. As the night deepens, he faces a final confrontation with one of his lingering enemies, a betrayal from the past manifesting in a deadly showdown. Tristan Rogers captures every nuance, the tension, the fear, the fleeting hope. Colin's final moments are quiet, almost meditative. He looks out over the water, whispers a farewell to Mackenzie, and with a final breath collapses. The camera lingers on his face, serene in its finality, a stark contrast to the chaos that surrounds him. Back in Genoa City, the fallout is immediate. Mackenzie's grief is palpable, her wails echoing through the halls of Atkinson Holdings. Jack, Victor, and the rest of the city grapple with the sudden void left by Colin's absence. Offices are emptied, conversations halted mid-sentence, and the entire city seems to pause, mourning a man who had been both feared and loved in equal measure. Tristan Rogers' departure leaves an indelible mark. His portrayal of Colin has always been magnetic, and now, in his final scenes, it becomes hauntingly unforgettable. Fans are reacting across social media, sharing clips, quotes, and tributes, all celebrating a character who redefined what it means to be complex in daytime drama. Discussions abound. Was Colin's death inevitable? Could Mackenzie have saved him? And most importantly, how will Genoa City continue without a man whose influence was woven into the city's very fabric? In the aftermath, the show does not shy away from exploring the consequences of Colin's life and death. Mackenzie grapples with both grief and anger, determined to honor her father's legacy while navigating her own future. Victor, ever the strategist, begins maneuvering in the power vacuum left behind, while Jack reflects on the fragility of human connections and the cost of long-held rivalries. The ripple effect of Colin's demise is far-reaching, impacting business deals, personal relationships, and the moral fabric of daytime soap operas. Few characters have left as indelible a mark as Tristan Rogers' portrayal of Colin Atkinson on The Young and the Restless, YandR. Known for its intricate plots, emotional roller coasters, and larger-than-life personalities, YandR has thrived for decades on the complex interplay between family, romance, and betrayal. Among the many characters who have graced Genoa City, Colin Atkinson stands out as a figure of charm, danger, and relentless ambition. A character brought to life with unforgettable flair by the talented Tristan Rogers. The arrival of Colin Atkinson, a disruptive force in Genoa City. Colin Atkinson's entrance into Genoa City was nothing short of cinematic. From the moment he appeared on screen, there was an undeniable presence, a magnetic energy that suggested both sophistication and hidden agendas. Colin was not simply another businessman or love interest. He was a man whose past was shadowed by mystery and whose intentions were rarely transparent. Tristan Rogers, already a seasoned soap veteran known for his work on General Hospital as Robert Scorpio, brought with him an experience and gravitas that allowed Colin to immediately resonate with viewers. Colin was introduced as a man whose charm could disarm even the most skeptical characters. His interactions with Nikki Newman, one of the show's most iconic heroines, highlighted his ability to blend genuine affection with calculated manipulation. Colin's relationships were never straightforward. They were a mix of seduction, power plays, and deeply personal stakes. Through Tristan Rogers' nuanced performance, Colin became more than a villain or anti-hero. He became a character viewers loved to watch, even when they despised his schemes. A complex villain, the many layers of Colin. What made Colin Atkinson so compelling was his complexity. Unlike one-dimensional soap antagonists whose motives are obvious from the start, Colin's character was layered. On the surface, he could be charming, witty, and impeccably smooth. He could walk into a room and immediately command attention, often turning the tables on those who thought they were in control. Yet beneath that exterior was a man driven by past regrets, desires for redemption, and an unrelenting thirst for power and influence. Tristan Rogers excelled at balancing these facets. He portrayed Colin with a subtlety that made the character unpredictable. One moment, Colin would be a loving father or devoted partner, and the next, he would orchestrate a corporate takeover or manipulate events to his advantage. This duality kept viewers on edge, never quite knowing which Colin they would encounter in the next scene. It was a testament to Rogers' acting that even when Colin's actions were morally dubious, audiences remained captivated, often rooting for him despite themselves. Colin's family ties, love, betrayal, and heartbreak. Central to Colin Atkinson's narrative were his relationships with his family, particularly his children. In typical soap opera fashion, family dynamics became a battleground of loyalty, love, and betrayal. Colin's interactions with his children were fraught with tension, as he tried to balance his ambitions with his responsibilities as a father. Tristan Rogers brought a palpable emotional weight to these scenes, showing the audience a man who was deeply human beneath his calculated exterior. Whether he was attempting to protect a child from danger, manipulate a situation to benefit the family, or reconcile past mistakes, Rogers' portrayal emphasized the complexity of Colin's paternal instincts. Viewers could see the internal struggle between the man he wanted to be and the man he had become. These familial entanglements not only added depth to the character, but also created high-stakes drama that kept audiences glued to their screens. Romance and seduction, Colin's love affairs. No discussion of Colin Atkinson would be complete without highlighting his romantic entanglements. In true YandR fashion, love and desire were as central to Colin's story as power and betrayal. Tristan Rogers imbued the character with a charisma that made Colin's romantic pursuits both believable and intoxicating. Colin's relationships were rarely simple. With Nikki Newman, for instance, his connection was a delicate balance of attraction, respect, and danger. Their chemistry was undeniable, offering moments of tenderness that contrasted sharply with the suspenseful scheming that often surrounded them. Beyond Nikki, Colin's other romantic involvements showcased his ability to charm and manipulate, yet they also revealed vulnerabilities that made the character multidimensional. Rogers' performance ensured that each romantic storyline carried emotional weight, making the audience invested in Colin's love life as much as his schemes. Power struggles and corporate schemes. In Genoa City, power is currency, and Colin Atkinson was a master of leveraging it. Whether navigating the cutthroat world of corporate intrigue or engaging in personal vendettas, Colin's strategic mind was always in play. Tristan Rogers brought an air of calculated intelligence to every scene, portraying a man who was always thinking 3 steps ahead, yet never losing his charm or humanity. Some of the most memorable storylines involving Colin revolved around corporate takeovers, business rivalries, and strategic alliances. These plots highlighted the high-stakes drama that made daytime television addictive. Colin's ability to maneuver through these complex situations, often outsmarting even the most cunning adversaries, cemented his status as a formidable presence in Genoa City. The tension Rogers created in these scenarios was palpable, making viewers feel the suspense and the thrill of watching a master strategist at work. The Tristan Rogers touch, crafting an iconic performance. What truly set Tristan Rogers apart in his portrayal of Colin Atkinson was his ability to humanize a character who could have easily been a caricature of a soap opera villain. Rogers' nuanced performance brought depth, charm, and authenticity to Colin, making him memorable long after scenes ended. His mastery of subtle expressions, timing, and vocal inflection created a character that felt both larger-than-life and relatable. Fans often praised Rogers for his ability to make Colin's motivations understandable, even when they were morally ambiguous. He was a man of contradictions, charming yet dangerous, loving yet ruthless, and Rogers embraced these contradictions fully. The result was a character who could dominate a storyline without overshadowing the ensemble cast, enhancing the overall narrative of The Young and the Restless. Fan impact and legacy. Colin Atkinson's impact on YandR extended beyond individual storylines. Tristan Rogers' portrayal resonated with fans, sparking discussions, fan theories, and even dedicated fan followings. Social media buzz, fan forums, and daytime television critiques all highlighted the magnetic pull of Colin's character. Viewers admired the complexity, relished the scheming, and were consistently surprised by the twists and turns of his storylines. The legacy of Colin Atkinson lies in the way he redefined the archetype of a soap opera antihero. He was not a simple villain or romantic lead. He was a dynamic, unpredictable, and emotionally layered character whose presence elevated every scene. Tristan Rogers' interpretation ensured that Colin remained a memorable figure in the rich tapestry of Genoa City drama, leaving an enduring mark on the show. General Hospital has been home to a parade of larger-than-life characters whose stories have captivated audiences, but few have left a mark as indelible as Robert Scorpio, the suave, daring, and occasionally reckless spy who first stormed the canvas in 1980. Portrayed by the incomparable Tristan Rogers, Robert Scorpio isn't just a character in a soap opera. He's an institution. Over 40 years, he has embodied adventure, romance, heroism, and resilience, all while becoming a beloved touchstone in the lives of GH viewers. As Tristan Rogers celebrates a career that spans more than 4 decades, it's worth exploring why Robert Scorpio has remained such a vital and enduring figure on daytime television. From the moment Robert Scorpio first appeared, it was clear he was different from the standard GH fare. Unlike the schemers and wealthy socialites that populated Port Charles in the early 1980s, Robert was a man of action. A Secret Service agent turned international spy, he had the charisma of a leading man, the intelligence of a seasoned operative, and the charm of someone who could make even the most dangerous missions look effortless. Tristan Rogers brought an immediacy and intensity to the role, turning Scorpio into more than a character. He became a symbol of courage and sophistication. One of the most significant elements of Robert Scorpio's enduring appeal has been his relationship with Anna Devane, portrayed by Finola Hughes. Their romance is the stuff of soap opera legend, an epic, complex love affair that combined adventure, danger, and passion. From globe-trotting escapades to intimate, tender moments at home, Robert and Anna's love story showcased a chemistry that few couples on daytime television could match. Fans have been invested in their relationship for decades, through breakups, reunions, and near-death experiences, making Robert's romantic legacy as potent as his heroic one. But Robert Scorpio's importance to General Hospital extends far beyond romance. He has been at the center of some of the show's most memorable storylines, often driving the plot with his intelligence, moral compass, and willingness to take risks. From espionage thrillers to saving Port Charles from catastrophic events, Robert has consistently been a character who elevates the stakes of the narrative. His work as a spy allowed GH to explore genres beyond the traditional soap opera, introducing action-adventure elements that brought a cinematic flair to daytime television. Whether defusing bombs, chasing villains across continents, or unraveling elaborate conspiracies, Robert Scorpio turned every episode he touched into a must-watch event. Tristan Rogers' portrayal has also allowed the character to evolve organically over time. In the early years, Robert was the quintessential action hero, handsome, fearless, and infallible. As the years passed, Rogers infused the character with more depth and nuance. We've seen Robert grapple with loss, confront moral dilemmas, and face the physical limitations of aging, all while maintaining his core identity. This evolution has kept him relevant, demonstrating that a character can grow and mature without losing the qualities that made them iconic in the first place. One of the defining moments in Robert Scorpio's narrative came with his brushes with death, a recurring theme that has kept viewers on the edge of their seats. From the apparent death in the early 1990s to multiple harrowing escapes, Robert's presumed demises and miraculous returns became a hallmark of his storyline. These near-death experiences were more than dramatic devices. They symbolized resilience, the idea that true heroism endures despite overwhelming odds. Tristan Rogers' commitment to these scenes, blending intensity with authenticity, ensured that each return was met with genuine excitement and emotional investment from the audience. Moreover, Robert Scorpio's character has been a moral anchor in Port Charles. In a world rife with schemers, crooks, and morally ambiguous figures, Robert often represents the good guy ethos. His integrity, loyalty, and courage have provided a counterbalance to some of the darker storylines in GH. He has mentored younger characters, supported friends in crisis, and acted as a stabilizing force in the chaos of Port Charles. In many ways, Robert Scorpio embodies the ideal of the heroic figure that audiences can admire and trust, a rare commodity in a soap opera landscape defined by betrayals and shocking twists. Tristan Rogers' own dedication to the role has been a major factor in the character's enduring presence. Few actors have had the longevity in a single role that Rogers has enjoyed, and his commitment to portraying Robert with authenticity has resonated with viewers across generations. He has brought a consistent energy, charm, and gravitas to every appearance, whether in full-scale action sequences or quiet, intimate moments. His skillful performance allows Robert Scorpio to feel simultaneously larger-than-life and relatable, a combination that is difficult to achieve, yet Rogers has done it masterfully for decades. Another aspect of Robert Scorpio's legacy is his versatility within the GH universe. He has seamlessly moved between major storylines, supporting characters, and special arcs, always making a significant impact. Whether embroiled in the mob drama surrounding Sonny Corinthos, the high-stakes politics of Yelku, or the international espionage storylines that originally defined him, Robert fits naturally into any narrative. His adaptability has allowed GH writers to use him as a linchpin for drama, romance, and suspense, reinforcing his status as a vital character. The enduring popularity of Robert Scorpio also stems from the nostalgia factor. For longtime viewers, he represents a golden era of daytime drama when characters could be glamorous, daring, and morally heroic all at once. Watching Robert on screen today evokes memories of classic GH moments, the schemes, the rescues, the heartfelt confessions, all of which cement him as a beloved figure in the soap opera canon. Yet, despite this nostalgia, he remains relevant to newer audiences, bridging the gap between decades of storytelling and maintaining a presence in contemporary GH narratives. Fans' attachment to Robert Scorpio is a testament to both Tristan Rogers' performance and the character's narrative significance. Social media, fan forums, and conventions frequently celebrate his role, with viewers often citing his courage, intelligence, and loyalty as defining traits. Robert Scorpio is more than just a fixture on General Hospital. He is a cultural touchstone, representing the enduring appeal of complex, heroic characters in daytime television. It's also worth noting the personal qualities Tristan Rogers brings to the character. His professionalism, charisma, and deep understanding of Robert Scorpio allow him to navigate the complexities of a long-running soap opera with grace. He balances the demands of action sequences with the subtlety required for intimate, emotional scenes, creating a layered performance that continues to resonate. The respect Rogers commands both on and off-screen contributes to the character's longevity, ensuring that Robert remains an essential figure in Port Charles. Looking forward, Robert Scorpio's legacy seems secure. He has evolved with the show while remaining true to his core values, providing a model for how long-running characters can adapt without losing their essence.